Welcome back, guys. In this one shot, I'm going to be taking a look at Revell Germany's newest Airbus A320neo. This is an all-new tool of Airbus's follow-up to the A320. NEO actually stands for new engine option, but it has a nice neo or new ring to it. Let's take a look at what's in the box. Typical slide. I like the box art with Lufthansa's new livery on it. We'll start with the got nice clear parts here. Start with those since it's the first small bag that came out. And typical of Revell, come on, stupid tape. We have strips for the cabin windows, which you can choose to leave out if you want to. What I really like about this versus the old, Revell's had an A320 in their catalog since 1988. This is not that kit. This is an all-new tool, and one of the giveaways is that the windscreen now comes as part of a larger insert so that it's easier to insert and fill around it without damaging the clear parts. Really nice touch on that one. And really, the framing on that windshield is really sharp. So let's see what it fits into. Molded in white, so it's easy to paint all white liveries, which most airliners have these days. Here are the fuselage halves, which are really sharp. Look at the panel line detail. I don't know if you can pick that up, Tim. Tim Kidwell from Scale Auto Magazine is operating the camera for us today. Say hi, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
And you can see, I don't know if you can catch that at all in the light, but there's really fine panel lines along the vertical stabilizer, along the windows. You get the little rain gutters above the doors here, and you can see the insert for the
Tilt it up a little
windshield.
bit there.
Better?
Yeah, we can pick up the rain gutters there. Mm-hmm. Looks good.
Yep, the antennas are molded up here, which is both good and bad. They're good because they're fine, they're bad because they're easily broken, so take care while you're building it. The starboard side looks very much the same. You've got hinges for the cargo hatches on the lower half there. And one of the things you'll notice is that the radome is also separate. We'll see it later. Interestingly, they've molded the lower wing with the belly of the airplane, and you can see the horizontal stabilizers there as well. The actuators for the flaps are molded onto the lower wing, the openings for the landing gear doors. Nice vent work underneath there. That's really sharp looking. But the upper wing is also molded as a single piece. So you're going to set the dihedral on this thing really easily. It's just going to be super clear and clean. The rear half of the wings, the trailing edge of the wings is molded with the upper halves. Again, it's super fine panel lines.
Hold that up again? No, tilt there, keep going back toward you, just so we can see that.
Okay. Super fine panel lines. Nice. We do have a separate rudder here for the vertical stabilizer. Interesting that it's molded separately. And there's also the nose gear bay door. We'll talk a little bit more about the gear here in a second, but they do include a separate gear door, or separate gear bay. Excuse me, I know what I'm actually trying to say. And then we have, with that nice clear window, we actually get some cockpit detail. There's a front with seats. There's even look like tiny little pedals molded in there. They may just be footwells. Center console with the throttle quadrant. There's a, look at this, there's actually an instrument panel, and you can see the screens because this will have a glass cockpit, so it's all multifunction screens, multifunction displays. It's impressive to have that in this scale. I don't know how well we can see it through the glass, but let's hope it's a nice touch to have it. You got the rear door, or rear wall bulkhead for the cockpit, which is a nice touch also. And this is actually the tail cone for the airplane, the APU exhaust. So that's a neat little touch. That's separate. It means you don't have an awkward seam right around that opening, which is cool. I knew there was another set of screws in here. Okay, here are the engines. Now this aircraft comes with two engine options, the CFM LEAP engine and the Pratt & Whitney version. These are both designed to be super fuel efficient. Between the new engines and the tall winglets that this aircraft has, speaking of the winglets, there we are. These are the separate winglets, the very tall shark type winglets, shark fin type winglets. There's the separate nose cone as well, the radome. Between that and the new engines, this aircraft is supposed to be anywhere between 7 and 15% more fuel efficient than its predecessor, which it doesn't seem like a whole lot until you calculate it over thousands and thousands of miles. But look at the engines. I really am impressed by this. Halves for the main bodies with a little bit of the rear or hot section there. The fan blades are nicely molded down in there, and they include part of the trunking, so when you insert them in the front, you are not going to have weird gaps or weird shapes around them like has plagued some kits from the past. Separate sections for the tail cones on the engines, and then a nice touch are these separate separate intake surrounds, which again limits the amount of awkward filling you have to do around those openings. So that's a nice touch also. Now, one of the things that you may have noticed isn't here is landing gear. Now, the kit obviously has room for landing gear, but this version does not come with it. Instead, they provide a stand and the closed doors to fill the openings. So it's a nice sturdy display stand. So with this kit at least, you don't have an option for on the ground, but you have a nice option to do it in flight, which is kind of cool. And then let's take a look at decals, because airliner modelers like myself thrive on decals.
I would have never known, Aaron.
Really?
Ever. That
Really?
You were into airliners.
Really? You didn't know that?
No.
Now these are designed by Decals. He's done airliner designs, decals for Revell Germany before. Really crisp, sharp in register, the German flags here. It looks like you get 5 different aircraft markings, or at least 4 different and 2 variants on the DAINT there. Named aircraft in several cases, different registrations, the walkways, all the various stencils, doors, and then what I really like is that they give you the option to do either just the silver surrounds for the clear windows, or if you're one of those guys that prefers to fill the windows and use dark decals, there are those options too, and there's even a few with different angles on the shades pulled down. Wing walks, all just really sharp. This is Lufthansa's livery, so there's not a whole lot to the new version. It's a blue tail with a white body in the titles and the white Speedbird on the tail. The instructions are, as with all of Revell Germany's new kits, exceptionally nice, really clear, easy to follow, just a few steps in each diagram, and we'll get to the fun part, the color. They're pretty clear about the colors, all the decal placement. So it's just a nice touch for an exciting new airliner, and it's good to see Revell Germany doing what is a brand new aircraft. I'm willing to bet we're going to see the version with landing gear before too long, and given that the engines are molded on their own sprue, I wouldn't be surprised to see the CFM LEAP version also. Thanks for watching, and thanks for visiting FineScale.com.